Hello and welcome to this edition of Ringside Digest. I'm your host Kirk Day, along with my co-hosts Byrne and Nick Miller. And in this video, we're going to go over Eastern Conference playoff predictions. In our last video, we went over the Western Conference ones, and this one we're going to do the Eastern Conference ones. The same format, we're going to go up through, give our predictions for the whole thing, go down to the finals and give our prediction little thing on the finals as well. We did in the last video, but we're going to give it from the other perspective this time. But same deal. We're going to go mine first, then Noah's, then Nick's. We're going to do them all at once just so it's not a conglomeration of a bunch of stuff. So it's going to be pretty simple. But before we get into this video, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more stuff from us, because the playoffs start tomorrow, and it's going to be very, very exciting. We have a lot of stuff planned. We're going to be doing recaps. We're going to be doing predictions. We're going to do like analysis of whatever's going to happen. Yeah, so it's going to be very, very fun. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see that. And without any further ado, we're going to go into our topic here, which is the Eastern Conference playoff predictions. I will be going first with mine. In the first game, or the first series in this one, we have Boston versus Florida. I'm going to go Boston in 5. Florida, they didn't have the best season. They had some good players, mainly Matthew Tkachuk, Barkov. Not the best year he had, but I got Boston in 5 for this one. Boston controls their fate in this series. They statistically should not lose. They should not lose. It's their game to lose. It's their series to lose. I think they just have too much for Florida to handle. Florida's goaltending, not what it used to be. Well, Bobrovsky, he's not the best goalie in the league, But Boston Bruins, they have the best goalie in the league, Linus Ullmark. Or this season at least, but I think that Boston will pretty much take this one. Not too much difficulty going into it. I think they're going to take it in 5. It's going to be pretty simple. They're going to go through Florida. I give Florida a game, because they do have good players. They're not the deepest team. They do have good players that I think can, maybe take a game away from Boston in this. But it also would not surprise me at all if I see this series go 4-0 for Boston. But I'll give Florida the credit they can probably get. I'll give them one game on this in Boston 5. The next series, I have Toronto versus Tampa. And now this one, it might be a bit of a different situation, different idea, but I have Toronto in 6. Same matchup from last year, and they've known this for a while. This is going to be a very, very big series. I think it's probably going to be the best series of the first round on East and West. But I have the Toronto in 6 because I think that their deadline acquisitions will make the difference. I think that, with the additions over O'Reilly and everybody, they're not a team to just be, they're hit them, they're going to be scared. They're not that anymore. They're going to have a new mindset, I think, and they also know they have to get out of the first round. I don't think it's really a choice anymore if, what happens in the next few years if they don't. So I think they're going to have that mentality. They're going to get past Tampa. Tampa's been struggling a bit as of late, but they're still the Tampa Bay Lightning that have won, to an extent, the same team that has won the Stanley Cups in a few years and have gone very deep in pretty much every playoff run. So it's not going to be an easy challenge by any means, but I got Toronto in 6. I think that those acquisitions will just be the difference maker in this series and get them by and go to the second round. And with the third series, I have the Carolina Hurricanes versus the New York Rangers. I have Carolina in 6. I do think this series can go either way. It might be a bit of a different idea because the Islanders, I wouldn't say they're the greatest team offensively, but if Barzal comes back, I think the Hurricanes still do have the offense in their favor. But, Ilya Sorokin, that's one guy that I think could definitely change this series a different way, as well as Evgeny Svechnikov being out. I think that is going to be a big loss for Carolina. I think it's going to go either way, but I do have Carolina taking it just because they're a bit deeper. It's pretty much the same team that's been for the past few years. Andrei Svechnikov, not Evgeny Svechnikov. That's a horrible mistake. But, yeah, I do think Carolina's just going to take this one. I don't think it's really a question. But if the Islanders can definitely make it a challenge. That's the way I'll put it. But I don't really see the Islanders getting it out of it easy. But I can see Carolina taking it easy, if you know what I mean in that sense. But, yeah, I think Carolina is going to take this one in 6. But, it wouldn't surprise me, but it should be easy. And for the fourth series in this one, I have in the New York Rangers and New Jersey Devils. I have the Devils in 7. I do think this could probably be a top series in this, along with Toronto and Tampa. But the Devils this season are 3-1 against the Rangers. And but both teams have only gotten better. So it's going to be hard to tell. I don't really think that means too much at this point, especially going into the playoffs. Season series don't matter at all in the playoffs. It's a whole different season when you think about it, their mindset, what it should be. But the Devils in 7, I think the Devils, I don't think they're deeper, but I like as the team as a whole. Timo Meier, I don't think was what they expected when they got him after the trade, but I do think that the Devils will play much better than they're projected to against a very, very strong Rangers team. But like the last series, I think that the Rangers could take this in 7 as well. This series I think will go 7 regardless, but I do have the Devils going this one over the Rangers. I don't know how to put it into words. I think the Devils want this more than the Rangers. I know that may be weird, but I just got a feeling that something in the Devils are clicking. But yeah, so I'll just go Devils in 7 in this one, and we'll move on to the second round. And the first matchup, Boston versus Toronto. Now, this is a very, very stressful matchup for Leafs fans, I would say. Over the past couple seasons they played them, they've lost in pretty much every playoff series. But I'm not gonna change it this one. I think Boston's gonna go through it again. I think I'd probably give them 6 games. Toronto, I think if they get out of the first round, it's going to be a huge series for them. It's going to be a big boost to their mental attitude. But ultimately, I just think Boston will be too much for Toronto. Toronto's goaltending situation, not the best by any means. So I think that offensive pressure by Boston's, their incredible offense will just be too much for Toronto to handle. But, out of the series, it's going to be very, very good. Whatever happens, Toronto's offense will have to step up. Is pretty much what it is. That's really their only choice if they want to win, because I don't think their goaltending will keep them in this at all. So it's going to be a pretty tough series for Toronto and Boston because 2 great offenses, but I think Boston squeaks this one out. It's the last matchup in the second round. I'm going to get the Devils over the Carolina Hurricanes. I'll say again 6 games. I like the Devils in this matchup of pretty 2 similar teams, I would say. But I think that the winner of the Rangers and Devils series, which in this case I have the Devils, beats Carolina regardless. I just think that whoever comes out of that series, that's going to be a tough series once again, just like the Toronto and Tampa one. Well, I think whoever comes out of that series will go on to beat Carolina and move on to the Eastern Conference Finals with Boston. But in this one, I'm going to take the Devils. Like I said, I think they just click better. I think they have that. They want it. The Devils got playing very, very good. It's a team that's not really known in recent years to be in the playoffs, other than the early 2000s where they were an absolute dynasty. But I think they want to go back to that. So I'm going to have them moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. And like I said, in the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm going to have the Bruins and Devils. I'm going to take the Bruins in 7 in this one. It's a very, very strong Eastern Conference Final matchup. But I think the Bruins have more that can take them on a deeper run. I think the Bruins are more of a complete team, with Ullmark, Pastrnak, and the veteran presence with Krejci and Bergeron. I think that's just more of a factor than what the Devils have, and that will mean more to them when it comes to this playoff run. So in this one, I'm going to take the Bruins in 7. And going on to my finals, if you've seen the Western Conference video, you know what it is already. It's the Edmonton Oilers versus the Boston Bruins. And I'm going to take the Edmonton Oilers. I've been putting Bruins on a pedestal in this video, but they are fantastic. But I just think that Edmonton, well, similar to the style of the Devils, I think they'll want it more. McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins, Evander Kane, that whole team, they got better defensively. I think they just have enough to be able to beat Boston. They're 2 pretty similar teams when it comes to how they're built, how they're structured, but I do think Edmonton has just a bit more than what it takes, than what Boston has to win it. And in the tiebreak, I have 29 goals. I think it's going to be pretty low scoring because you got Ullmark in net, and I wouldn't say they'll shut McDavid down, but I don't think that it'll be as easy as other teams for McDavid with Ullmark and the grittiness that the Bruins have. But yeah, that's what I got. So what do you guys think about it?
Interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, there's some things that I had to think a bit about that I wasn't confident on, but ultimately that's what it came to at the end of it.
I think in my bracket, one thing changes from yours, so
yeah, we'll have a look at that.
I think one thing changed, one team.
Faith in the Devils is interesting. I gotta say, I got a little bit of a different result there.
I don't know what came to me when I was thinking of it, but I really like the Devils in this, and I don't think they'll beat Boston, but I can see them going the distance that they did. I don't know, there's just something about them, the way watching them play. It just looks like something special. Like, it looks like they're ready. It looks like they've been ready for a while.
They're dogs, for sure. They're dogs.
All right, Noah, do you want to get started with yours?
Yeah, for sure. Let's dive into it. All right, so in the first matchup, I have Boston and Florida. I have Boston in five. Ultimately, this Boston team is absolutely amazing. Pasternak with another phenomenal year, as well as Linus Ullmark, who's most likely going to win the Vezina. Well, not most likely, he is going to win the Vezina. Florida simply isn't good enough. There's a huge question mark in who's going to be between the pipes for them. They've had some injuries. They've run into some injuries of this season. I give Florida one game here because I don't think Patrice Bergeron is fully healthy. And I think if Connor McDavid wasn't a person, Florida has the Hart Trophy winner in Matthew Tkachuk. That might be a bit spicy, but I think he had a phenomenal year. Mm-hmm. So moving on now to the next matchup, Toronto and Tampa. This is the heavyweight championship here. I have Tampa in 7. Sorry, Leafs fans, yet again. If you think this isn't going 7, you're just plain and simple wrong. Guys like Matthews, Marner, Tavares, Nylander going up against guys like Kucherov, Point, Stamkos. It's a phenomenal matchup. I have Tampa taking this in 7 solely because of experience. They've been to 3 straight finals, and the same coach, and for the most part the same core. I think that's much better. That takes it. I think you also have to take into account the playoff performances of Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov. When it hits April, they become a different caliber of player, and then that gives them the edge for sure. So that's why I have Tampa in 7, and then moving on to the next matchup here, New York and Carolina. I picked Carolina in 6. Carolina's top 6 is the reason they get this done in this series. Plain and simple, their offense is no match for the Islanders. I do think that the Islanders somehow squeeze out 2 games solely because they are going to have a healthy Matt Barzal, and they do have a top 5 goaltender in Ilya Sorokin. So that's the reason why I have Carolina edging them out. Then in the final matchup in the Eastern Conference here, New York and New Jersey, I have the Rangers in 6. I'm gonna take a page from Kirk here. I love New Jersey's team. I think they're skilled all over. They're well coached there with Lindy Ruff, but unfortunately they don't have the experience. Igor Shesterkin's going to be locked in against the Devils, and I think he's a huge reason why the Rangers get past here. So then moving on to the second round, Boston Tampa. I got Tampa taking this one. This is I love this second round matchup too. It's the best team of all time against one of the best dynasties of all time. It makes for a phenomenal watch for all of us hockey fans. But I'm sticking with my reasoning with the experience. I think Tampa has been there before, and I think they know how to get it done. So I got Tampa coming out of the second round there against Boston, and then moving on to the next matchup here. I stated that Carolina and the Islanders series, that Carolina's top 6 is great, but stacked up against the Rangers' top 6, the Rangers win this by an absolute landslide. Panarin, Kane, Zibanejad, they're all phenomenal players, and they breeze past in the series. So that's my X factor and why the Rangers get past Carolina. Then I have Tampa, New York in the conference finals. This is the exact matchup that we've seen last year, and I think we were all kind of caught off guard with how good the Rangers put up a fight against Tampa last year. They added guys like Patrick Kane, Vinny Trocheck, just to name a few. So they have gotten so much better from last year. So I give them the edge. Then moving on now to the finals here, I have Edmonton and New York. I gotta go with Edmonton in this one. I said in the Western Conference that this will come down to defense. In the Western Conference video, which we previously posted, I said this is going to come down to defense, and I think that's plain and simple. Adam Fox is the best defenseman in this series by a mile, and then you add Jacob Trouba, Condre Miller. It's a very good defense, but I think in the end, Matthias Ekholm, Darnell Nurse, Evan Bouchard, I'm gonna take them over him. I know that's a bit of a controversial one, but I think they play so much better in that system over there at Edmonton. So that's why I have Edmonton winning the cup.
I gotta say, I do like the changes that you made compared to my bracket. Like, there are some differences, but I can agree with them. I'm not gonna say they won't happen because I think they definitely can. So I do like the change. I like the change in what you got with the Rangers. Like I said, it can go anyway. I think that one, it's going to be the winner of that. I think is just going to be on high. But
yeah,
so it's
there's
definitely
so many different scenarios that could happen over there in the East. They're all powerhouses.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like like probably what was it, 5 of the top teams in the NHL were all from the Eastern Conference, so they're all powerhouses. It can go anyway. That's fully what I think. Yeah. All right, so Nick, you ready for your bracket?
Absolutely.
All right, let's get it.
All right, so the first series there, we have the best team in regular season history versus the Florida Panthers. I've got Boston in 6 in this one. Now, you may be questioning why I'm giving Florida 2 games here, given the fact that Boston is so good and Florida just barely got in. My reasoning that Florida gets 2 games here is because they've been a hot team for a little while. They got into the playoffs. They weren't in a playoff spot up until about a month. And I think they were like floating back and forth between one, but they got really hot when they needed to. They've got some fantastic defensive players on forward. They got guys that can put the puck in the net. They got speed that goes down through the lineup, like on the lower lines down there, like Ryan Lomberg and such. But in the end, Boston does win the series. It's just, they're just too good for Florida. If Boston doesn't win this series, it's a tragedy for the Bruins if they don't. Now, you mentioned about Patrice Bergeron not being fully healthy. We've seen Patrice Bergeron play through a cracked rib in the 2013 finals. Then again, that was 10 years ago, so we don't know if he's going to end up being hurt for a few games in this series. I still have Boston winning regardless because they're so deep. But yeah, Boston in 6. Now, to the Toronto and Tampa series. I have Toronto in 6. I've picked Toronto to win in the playoffs the last 4 seasons, and I've been wrong every single time. But I'm still picking them this year because I just don't see a way that this Tampa team can win another series. I can't see it happening. These guys, if you look at them out on the ice, all the things happening this season, they look tired. They've played virtually another full regular season compared to all the other teams in the league in the past 3 years. They went to 3 straight finals. I think it adds up to somewhere around, I think it's over 60 games more than anyone else, possibly 70, more than other teams. So I believe that Tampa just gets too tired. I believe the Leafs got better in every aspect. Their offense maybe took a little hit with Matthews, but they also brought in Ryan O'Reilly. And, I mean, Kyle Yarncroft's playing good. The whole team is playing just really well. They got a few bruisers back there now, and Luke Shen, Jake McCabe. I really like what they've done there. Ilya Samsonov, who knows what he might be able to do. We know he's definitely got the talent. It's just all about him getting this consistency into place to play the Lightning. I believe Toronto gets this done in 6. I think, though, if it does go to Game 7, Tampa wins that game just because it's Toronto. Anyway, moving on to the next round. We've got, the next matchup, sorry. We've got Carolina and the Islanders. I've got Carolina in 5. Let's be honest, the Islanders, they just don't have it. Like, Matt Barzal coming back and Ilya Sorokin being in the net is the only reason I have them winning 1 game in this series. Carolina, despite losing Svechnikov and losing Pacioretty to injury, I mean, Pacioretty only played a few games, but losing Svechnikov to injury was a big one. But I still think that the team is most certainly deeper than the Islanders. I think the Islanders have the edge in net, but I think Carolina's depth is just a little bit too much for the Islanders here. So I have Carolina in 5. Moving on to the next series, I've got the Rangers beating the Devils in 7. Now, as you guys said, I believe this is a series that can go both ways. It really can, but I believe in the end, the Devils' lack of experience and the Rangers' experience that they already had plus added in Patrick Kane, in Vladimir Tarasenko as well. They were to a conference final last year. There's some players in this Devil team that have never been to a playoffs. So I believe it's Jack Hughes' first playoffs this year. So I'm looking for the experience factor in this series and the fact that the Rangers will definitely have the advantage in net. In Shesterkin, he hasn't been himself this season, but I believe he'll come back and play just like he did in last year's playoffs and last year's regular season again. He'll lock in the playoffs. The Rangers should move on in this series, but it can go either way. All right, so moving on to the next round, I've got Boston and Toronto. Now, this is interesting because I do have the Bruins winning in this series, but I definitely see a way that the Leafs could win. I've got the Bruins winning just due to the fact that I think they're the better team, they're the deeper team. They've got the better goalie. They've got the better defense. And the offense is pretty well equal. I think the Leafs might have the edge a little bit on offense. The Leafs with a former 60-goal scorer who has been himself this season in Austin Matthews. Pasternak's a 60-goal scorer on Boston. So you've got two powerhouse teams coming together. The only way I think Toronto wins this series is because Boston knows it's their last year, really, to be able to do anything, to be able to win. I think if Toronto does what I say they're going to do, they get to the second round, all that pressure comes off Toronto, and all the pressure shifts to Boston. Because in the past series, the pressure's all been on Toronto because they know they have to get out of the first round. If the pressure comes off Toronto, they go into that series, and all the pressure's on Boston because Boston they have to win now, or that's going to be it for the rest of those guys' careers. But I believe that Boston gets it done due to the fact they have the advantage on defense and goaltending. Because in the playoffs, the defense and goaltending, defense is what wins championships, and you need a good goalie. So due to the fact that Ilya Samsonov is a little bit inconsistent, and you know what the Bruins are going to be, I have the Bruins winning this one in 7. Moving down to the Carolina Hurricanes versus the New York Rangers, I have the Rangers taking this one in, I'm going to say 6 games, because I think the Carolina Hurricanes are depthy, but I also think the Rangers are pretty depthy. I think the Rangers have the better offense. I think the defense is pretty even there. Like the Carolina Hurricanes added Brent Burns this year on their defense. They've had pretty much the same defense for a while other than that. But I think the Rangers have the advantage in net too. I just think there's too many things going right for the Rangers in this series to lose to the Hurricanes. I think the Rangers are going to win in 6. And moving on to the conference finals, I've got Boston and the Rangers. I've got Boston winning in, I'm going to say 6 games. I know the Rangers lost in 6 games last year to Tampa, but I think the big factor in this series is Boston is just that much better than the New York Rangers. They have a goalie that can go up against Igor Shesterkin. They have a they have a defense that can go up against, is actually better than the Rangers defense. And they have an offense that can go up against the Rangers offense. So that would be the only part where I'd give the Rangers the advantage, really. I don't give them the advantage in net or on defense. But I give them the advantage on offense, but only by a little bit. I think the Bruins are just that good that they can keep up with that really that powerhouse offense. The Bruins, obviously they have a lot of offensive skill as well. But I think the Bruins just end up winning this series in 6 games. Now, moving on to the Stanley Cup Final. As you may have seen in the other video, I have the Oilers beating the Bruins in 7 games. I am going to, however, change my tiebreaker to about between the 35 and 40 goal range. I was giving room for some errors by goaltenders, we'll say, in that series, but I think the defense will tighten up, and you'll see a fairly well-structured game for both teams in this series. Now, as Kirk said, we praise the Bruins a lot in this video. He and I have, but I think in the end, the Edmonton Oilers just have what it takes to beat Boston. It's hard not to give the Oilers the advantage on offense here. And with the defense the Oilers have been playing lately, the well-structured defensive game they've been playing, I just think that Connor McDavid and the addition of Matthias Ekholm, he may not be the best defenseman in this series. Maybe Charlie McAvoy, maybe the Bruins have a better defense. I just think Matthias Ekholm is most valuable to his team. As the Oilers, I think at one point were 17-2-1 after acquiring Ekholm. At the deadline, they've been playing a perfect team-structured game. There hasn't really been many faults for Edmonton, and I don't see any occurring here in the finals. So I've got Edmonton winning this in 7 games.
I do like that. I mean, we pretty much got the same bracket apart from the Rangers and Devils, but like we said, I can see the Eastern Conference going anyway. But I wouldn't put anything as a lock apart from maybe the Bruins against the Panthers, and potentially Carolina against the Islanders, and not so much. But either way, I think whatever we're going to see in the Eastern Conference is going to be an absolutely fantastic series, every which way. You have some stacked lineups. You have incredible goalies, incredible defense. It's just going to be a very good, very, very good year to watch the playoffs, especially in the Eastern Conference.
There's so many powerhouses in the East, and them going head to head. It's awesome for hockey fans to sit down and watch those games.
No, it absolutely is. And I mean, like Nick said, we have a previous video, which is going to be the Western Conference. So if you want to go watch that as well, that's where we're going to be doing the exact same thing over the Western Conference. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all we got for the Eastern Conference predictions. But if you liked the video, make sure to like it. And make sure to subscribe as well, because we're going to have a lot more content, like I said at the beginning of the video, coming out throughout the playoffs. We're going to have predictions. We're going to be probably doing predictions and like breakdowns and previews of each round and each series, So it's going to be very exciting. And if you want to keep up with these NHL playoffs, which I highly recommend you do, because if you want to do it any year, it's going to be this year. I mean, it's looking to be very, very good. If you want to do it, make sure to subscribe to us as well, because I mean, we're going to have it all. So if you liked it, make sure to like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.